Oh, hey. Good morning, Sullivan County and the Hudson Valley. There's a parody with that, but besides the point, this is Charlie Chaz from CGM3 Productions. How are you on this frigid type of day, January 20th, 2026? Would you believe it? Yeah. We're almost at the end of the month. Would you believe that? And I have a couple things I have to do today in regards with the blood work and with a doctor's appointment. But this one's very, very special to me right now because it is not only, a chilly day and it's, everything's going, everything on a roar and, what happened the last couple of days. But this is a day of celebration. Now, today is, if you may have noticed on a couple of these, this amazing websites and whatnot, it is National DJ Day or National Radio DJ Day. And there's a something irony about this, and an impact that made me, part of this, part of it, in this right now, being part of the entertainment, being a consultant, being, a blogger, being a, someone who's going to probably eventually get into podcasting soon. I got to find the right equipment and, hook up with some people and just doing some amazing guest work and whatnot. And then, coming, for a variety of purposes. So that's all in the works. But right now, I have to, give a shout out to amazing bunch of people out there that are working out there in radio right now. From Captain Eddie Wilson from WVOS to John Tigman, or the Tigman on PDH, to my brother, which I never had, out in KNCI, Pat Still, obviously with the Pat, Cody, and Joe show, which is absolutely amazing. Congratulations on a new chapter. And to, sports radio, to the amazing radio groups from local media to Town Square Media to, everywhere that you may be. And it's such a delightful impact on what radio is all about. And obviously to the higher branches of it, to Dawn Curcieri, to Paul D'Amico. These guys are energized. These guys are ready. They want to help out and bring out the good word of their organizations and whatnot. And I'm trying to do the same thing, being more of a positive light in this certain aspect. Now, how did I get started in radio? Very simply, Tri-Valley Central School back from 1984 to 1986 as a morning announcer, and providing information throughout the entire day to, the lunch special of the day. Everybody goes crazy on pizza day on Friday. And what happened yesterday in sports with the softball team, the football team, where it's homecoming, or very, very, very to that T. Then we move on, graduated from 1986. I did get a certificate from my school to the morning announcer, which it was very honorable. And I thank them for that. And then I move on to Herkimer, New York, up in central New York. And I did my radio and television broadcasting in theory, because we had a closed campus radio station, WHCR, which now turned into WVHR 91.3 today, and HCTV, which was, obviously a monumental success, and they're putting on public accessing, from games to graduations to good old thought, and great jazz music, obviously on WVHR, by the way. So check that out. And then, but the creme de la creme was out in Buffalo, out in from 1990. Actually, check that, from 1988 to 1990. I went to Buffalo State College, the home of the Bengals, bleeding orange and black, and did a little bit for my bachelor's degree. So I actually have an associate's in applied science, and I have a Bachelor of the Arts degree in broadcasting. And my first real true radio gig was at a station called 91.3 WBNY, Buffalo's Original Alternative. And it was great, it was great times. You did everything underneath the sun. You pick, certain things from on-air personality, sportscasting, newscasting, underwriting, promotions, production. You did it all. I didn't do underwriting because I really, it's like quite, in that, but more or less marketing and public relations, getting the name out and, getting the stuff out. So by that time, by 1990, by the fall, late, in August 1990, I landed my first radio job at WZAD in Wurtsboro and in Middletown. We called ourselves The Wizard at 97.3, Wurtsboro, Middletown, playing what we want, or, it's The Wizard. And basically it was just something magical. And that was my first radio gig, on the overnights playing jazz 6 nights a week. And then some. And then when certain things started to happen, I went to an amazing radio station myself in the about 91, 92 at a very historic radio station that broadcasted news events right across from Sullivan County, because we do care in Sullivan County. It's the Voice of Sullivan, 95.9 FM, 1240 AM, WVOS. And they were the first there at the original Woodstock site back in 1969. Ironically, because I have some connections with that, and it's totally amazing. And then in that time it grew. I made some amazing friends throughout the entire years, throughout the decade. I went across the river, covered as a sports director, for the Hudson Valley Renegades. And this is where we all made the connections. From Jack the Ripper George, we actually went to see Army Navy down at MetLife Stadium, to the amazing crew at WPDH. And it's been a blessing and an honor knowing those guys throughout that decade, from Waking Up with the Wolf, the Coop and Patty Show, Mornings with Cooper, the legendary Mad Mike Colvin, Pam Brooks, Robin Taylor, all those guys. And obviously the legend himself at night, the Tig Man. And awesome times. And, whether it was like a concert over at Orange County Fair Speedway, to an event, at the Renegades, to the amazing benefit that they did every year for Jerry's Kids for basically Roofathon. And it was absolutely amazing. And then, with everybody coming around and going around and, voluntary with it. But I'm going to stop that right there, because guess what? That's, part of my impact on it. But the amazing impact was growing up in the Sullivan County Catskills. And I'll tell you a little story, because this year, actually this, last few years are very, very significant for me, because I was honored, and humbled to be a part of an amazing radio station in Sullivan County Catskills back in the 90s, again, with WVOS. And WVOS AM turned 75 a few years ago. So they're close to probably hitting 80. That's totally amazing on the AM side, at AM 1240. To WVOS FM, they actually had their 60th anniversary a couple years ago. Now, this year, it's very, very special, because lo and behold, back in June 1st, 1976, a station was born in the Hudson Valley. It was album-oriented rock. It was just becoming a very impactful and very, very star-driven radio station by the name of WPDH, 101.5 FM, 106.1 on the repeater on Jeffersonville. And this is what I'm telling you right now. This is definitely why it's such a huge impact. It's a huge impact on me because there are many things in life that happen. From back in high school, I learned to practice my voice, my diaphragm, and the knowledge of music. and the knowledge of AOR, the knowledge of classic rock. And so, lo and behold, at 8 o'clock with the legendary Matt Walsh, he got me. I wrote a letter, and I'm a good letter writer too, and I knew what I knew for 20 minutes, what I wanted to listen to on it. I was on the 8 o'clock rock block for 4 times, different times of the year, and then obviously the biggest one was 1986 with the dedication to my class, and we hit it off with Led Zeppelin, with Led Zeppelin and a couple of other tracks. And my last song for that year was Goodbye from Night Ranger. And and the Led Zeppelin song Over the Hills and Far Away. That was really very impactful for those 4 times. Now, including that, there were so many things happening in life. From college, it was always, you're going up to Herkimer, you get to hear WOUR 96.9 Utica, Rome. And then when you come back home, you know what your rock station was, or you knew your local radio station besides WVOS with the amazing Mike Sickell, now retired, which I'm glad and I'm grateful for that I went to his his retirement party. Thank you, Dawn, for the invite in from Bold Gold Media Group. And back in the day when I was coming home from school, there was always those radio stations, WVOS, WSUL, WPDH, and of course WSPK, and also WKOJ out of Middletown. But I tend to go to WPDH. It never changed because it was always, actually it may have changed in radio personalities during those times, but the rock and roll was always there. The news was always there. The accuracy and, picking up the phone and say, hey, so-and-so, can I, request a song, on WPDH. So that was the 2 years at Herkimer. Now up in Buffalo, same thing. Going up to Buffalo, did my classes up there, got more of the radio experience. And then lo and behold, there was a couple radio stations up there, 97 Rock, WGR. There's AM 550, and then obviously the rock station on the FM side. And lo and behold, 105.1 out of Buffalo, WPHD was a classic. It was basically 50s, oldies, almost like WCBS out of the city. So it was like I cracked up a little bit and I'm saying, oh, this is kind of cool. You can revert that. It's like, gee, you know what? That's WPDH. So I graduated, coming home, absolutely amazing. And it was a blast for those years, working with it. And obviously, getting to know the amazing DJs. And then, when there was like an event like Jerry's Kids, or when someone in my life had the child form of leukemia, my heart broke. I was devastated. I said, how can I do this? So not only me and through WVOS, but WPDH helped me out. Robin Taylor, Mad Mike Colvin, the entire PDH crew, that's solid. That made a tremendous impact. And that's why I have the tremendous respect of them today for helping me out during these difficult times. So I really, really appreciate it. And then years later, while I was still in the area, I said my goodbyes in 2004. I went out to Sacramento, California. And 2005, I worked at an amazing station by a major radio group in which I refuse to say their name because of what's happening right now. But I could tell you, it was one of the best stations that I got to work around there. There was Jack Radio, 93.7, playing what we want. But I was also, with the sports radio station KHTK, and then KNCI 105.1. Again, the Pat and Tom show, but now it's Pat, Cody, and Joe show. So congratulations, guys, today. And then been doing pretty well and everything else. And then everything went down the tubes when my mom passed back in 2011. So 2012, I packed up my bags and said goodbye to California. I moved back here. And so here I am, 14 years and, doing a little bit of cameo work, doing some DJ work up the hill at the Villa Roma. And yes, I did that during the decades before, many, many years ago, as a DJ, as a house DJ, a residential DJ, and, getting to see some amazing people. But years and years goes on and go by, and it was basically, with everything going. So, everybody's checking how you're doing, just checking in and whatnot. And that's how majorly an impact to me for WPDH means a lot to me from the last so many decades, the last 50 years. And now, right now, I'm going through a very challenging time, which I am fighting every day. And it's great to rally around the flag with it and just, feeding off some amazing ideas and just saying a little story behind that too. Because in recent years, I moved a lot around Sullivan County. Okay. Whether it been like upper part of Sullivan County, Liberty, White Sulphur Springs area, the Hurleyville area, and now I'm here in Jeffersonville. So the name stuck for WPDH. I go to Hopkins for lunch in the morning. Yes, hi Hopkins, you're doing a great job, so keep it up. I go on there and I ask, hey Hopkins, it's Chuck from Sullivan County. What's going on? Hey, what's going on? It's like, we got some things with that, because since now I'm part of the film festivals now through Hudson Valley International Film Festival. Now we call it the Catskills International Film Festival. And I told them the updates. We had let's say a soft opening a couple years ago at the college, at Calhoun, to amazing areas around in the area. And it meant a lot to me. It really did. So it's with the help. And then getting on the phone, obviously with the legendary Tigman, with his the big hair scare at 6:30 at night, to amazing impact of what it was all about. So the request line is always open at, in the 5 o'clock for the drive home at 5. And then speaking of which, the impact of shows throughout the entire years, there was the King Biscuit Flower Hour. There was amazing concerts. There was Flashback. There was Getting the Let Out, which was an amazing show at night, Getting the Let Out for a block of Zepp. Be a DJ Weekend. That was a huge success back in the mid-'80s. I wish they would bring it back for at least 1 hour. So I would be up there writing up, and playing, the best rock and roll ever. So that was one of the best weekends they ever did. And then obviously Blocktober, Rocktober, everything's like a big thing, with that radio station. And it's a blessing that rock and roll has been keeping me going forever. And it's a very, very important that it's a huge impact on my life. So it's an amazing feeling. It's amazing. It's more than a feeling. And I'm taking that line from Boston. And yet, now we have these listening apps. We have, the WPDH app. We have the BOGO app. And then you can turn it on. You turn on the United States, anywhere in the United States, and you go back and listen to see what's going on, to Spotify, Pandora. As a matter of fact, I have a Spotify account, and I have like two separate accounts. For the other one is, with it, but I have a couple of amazing ones. I have one that's a somber one, and then I have one dedicated WPDH of 50 years of classic rock and roll radio. And it's over 34 hours of rock and roll music, classic rock, ambient-oriented rock, what PDH played all those years, not, obviously they've been playing every day, which is great, but it's like, I never get to hear this anymore. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put that into it. I'll be sharing a link with you with it, by the way, in the, at the end of this chat that we're having here on CGM3 Productions. But yeah, it's an amazing feeling. Just keep the faith, keep everything going, and keep rocking and rolling. And as amazing DJ as he was, Casey Kasem would actually say, keep your feet on the ground, but yet keep reaching for the stars. That's, with it. And again, for people, for the students, for the future, keep going to the radio schools, whether it be a SUNYAC school, if they have it, or go to what Tigman goes to, the legendary Connecticut Broadcasting School, legendary, and then to the other radio stations within the area, like in the city at 102.7 WNEW FM and Q104.3 to the legendary WBAB out of Babylon. You guys are amazing rock stations, but still close to home. And by the way, WRV celebrating their 30th anniversary, so I can't forget them. Great job, guys. Yet, I gotta tell you, I've been celebrating ever since back in the mid-'80s with WPDH. And again, to my brethren, to my brothers and sisters that work at WPDH, who are at their, a very happy 50th birthday to you. I'll be doing another one when June 1st comes around, or close to June 1st. I'll be doing another one, an update, and that how really does it, how does it impact? And hopefully I'll get better. Hopefully I'll be able to get out there, even go to the Bethel Woods, seeing Zebra. Zebra's legendary. Seeing these amazing concerts on Orange County Fair Speedway, Bethel Woods, everything. So on that note, I want to definitely say this to you, to WPDH out in Poughkeepsie, and even at WPDH 106.1, thank you for repeating the station. Thank you for giving us the opportunity of keep rocking and rolling. It's a rock and roll heart, what Eric Clapton would used to say, or how it actually makes you feel. So on that note, I got to get ready. I got blood work coming up, and I got to visit to the doctor. Tomorrow's my 20th round. Gee, ironically, my 20th chemo. Let's hope we go through with it. I'll give you an update with that, and I'll give you an update later on how everything goes. But this is Charlie Chaz from CGM3 Productions. I want to make sure that this gets out because it's National Radio DJ Day, or National DJ Day. Peace, love. We'll chat soon. See ya.